welcome students. In this session, we will have a conversation with two of our alums, Aviral Verma and Riya Katiyar. So they have been working as product managers now. So both of them are alumnus from IIT Kanpur and I am Bangalore PGP students. And they have been working as product managers. We'll understand the role of product managers, what they do in their life, what are the changes they are seeing in the product manager portfolio or product manager profile and so on. Okay, so we'll have a discussion here. So welcome Aviral and Riya to this show. I just to brief you about our students. So this is part of the BBA DBE bachelor program. I am Bangalore undergraduate program. So most of the students are young students. This is in 5th term. So they're about curious about digital business, entrepreneurship and so on. Yeah. So okay. So welcome and yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having us here. Super excited to begin this session.
Okay. Okay. So let's start with, so what is your current role? You can avoid naming the company, but discuss about what you do exactly. Yeah?
Sure. So I'm working as a product manager, and the company that I work for is actually in construction infrastructure domain. So the traditional work that I do looks like coming up with prototypes, quick prototypes to actually validate from customers and then hand it over to the engineers so that they can carry on with the actual product development and day-to-day activities in terms of, scoping out the features, the responsibilities, the whole roadmap, and then making sure it gets followed up. So yeah, that's a typical day-to-day.
Okay.
Yeah. So I am working as a product manager at a leading NBFC firm in Indian NBFC company right now. So my role basically revolves around two things. First, being in the finance sector, it is obviously compliance that you have to keep in mind all the time. So that is a differentiating factor between working in product management in a finance related company versus in any other firm. Second is there is a lot of stakeholder management that is involved. Now, juggling between risk teams, business teams, data science teams is a major chunk of the work that I do in my day-to-day.
So interestingly, we have Aviral working on the infrastructure and large project side, and Riya is more on the finance and technology side, right? Which is give us a good perspective for our students. Good.
Yes.
So let's say the basic idea for product manager, right? You will have project engineers, project management as a discipline. How different is product management from project management?
From project management. So project management is essentially about scoping out the deliverables and the timelines of when you are going to actually deliver the project. So that is essentially to come up with the plan and then making sure it gets followed up. That is essentially how I define project management. But product management is actually about the actual product when you decide what exactly you want to build, not just how to build and stuff like that. So you have to talk to customers, you have to understand the pain points, and then you have to see what exactly you can come up with, in terms of the features in the next quarter or so. So those are the kind of responsibilities that a product manager defines, and then a project manager makes sure that, okay, these get, taken care of. But traditionally, it's not everywhere that project management is also like a department. So mostly product managers also do the tasks of a project manager.
Okay.
So that's essentially what the distinction is.
Trying to make it simple, like project management is about managing people. Product management is about managing a product. So when you have to manage a team, you call that project management. When your team will be working on what task, when will they be delivering something? And when you actually look at it from a more from a technological product or feasibility perspective, then it comes into product management. So when I started off my work here, I used to do both project management and product management for my team. Aviral used to do the product management first, but now he's also handling both the product and project management roles. So with time, we are seeing that project management and product management are coming into one. Like we are now having a common role that handles both, because it is interchangeable, right? When you are handling people and you understand the product, you can give better timelines, understand the feasibility better, understand the deliverables better. And on the other side as well, when you know your team, you know what they can achieve and what kind of product they might build that might be the best.
So explain the example of a product. What is a credit product for you?
Okay. So basically, if I take the example of a lending company, like I'm working,
Yeah.
the one I'm working in, so there are customers that we lend loans to. Now, a major part of the basically in the lending sector is managing the risk around the customer.
So let's say you decide to give a loan to a customer.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So it comes up with a project proposal.
Yes.
Okay. So then what you do?
Yes. Now the major thing that comes in is whether to give the loan or not. Like
Yes.
which customer to give the loans to.
Yeah. If the customer is creditworthy or
Yes.
not. Yeah.
Yes. If analyzing the credit worthiness
Yeah.
of the customer, that is the major decision that we take as a company, and that happens at scale. Like
Okay.
there are
Yeah.
thousands or lakhs of customers that we
Yeah.
take decisions on.
Yeah.
So that cannot happen at in a manual sense. Like for higher ticket size lending, it can happen in a manual. A manual underwriter is needed, but for smaller ticket size loans that we see like in our day-to-day personal loans that are being offered to us, like up to 2 lakh 5 lakh of limit, so those loans need to happen in an automated way. Now, to design the products for the risk underwriting of the customers, what parameters to consider, what the policy should be, is a major part of not just a product manager in a lending company, but for
So
everyone.
yeah, so go back. So
Yeah.
let's say the lending product, okay? So how do you come up with this product will fit this kind of customer? So what's the process? How do you go ahead with the
Yeah. So like any other company, we also have many types of loans that are
Correct.
there. Different ticket sizes, different security, like secured loans, unsecured loans. So each product has a different need and a different segment that they cater to. Like someone who is running a business might might find a secured loan to be a better fit for them. Someone who is working at a
So
company
you
or is
decide based on the parameters of the customer, or at a product level, what are the parameters in a loan?
like there are many different data that we can decide on. First is like the bureau data that the customer has, the credit score and all. Next is basically different types of customer behavior parameters, like how they have behaved in the past, the kind of records that we have of the customer, the spending habits of the customers. There can be a wide range of parameters, like in and out of like the data, a large amount of data that companies are now accumulating nowadays. It has become more widespread to like analyze the indirect parameters also relating to customer behavior that we can now put into analysis. Earlier, we just had to like look at the parameters that are very direct, that default on a loan or not. But now behavioral parameters have expanded the scope a lot. But everything happens like with the consent of the customer only. It can happen.
Yeah. So the customer. So at what stage you go to customer to get the idea that this loan product is appropriate?
This loan, like the product to customer fit you're talking
Yeah.
about. So the product to customer fit basically comes in through many partners as well. So like as a business, we also give direct loans. We also partner with different companies.
Okay.
So there are different customer bases that we can look at. Some are pre-qualified customer bases that come through the partner. Like if I give an example, there might be a telecommunication company that might be giving out SIM cards to people.
Okay. Okay.
Now they also get into this lending business.
Okay.
So they have a customer base from elsewhere that they can utilize here.
Okay.
If I take the example of, for example, Bajaj Finance. So they partner with like Reliance Digital or other electronics companies as well, where they can, like people who are buying electronics, they can take no cost EMI. And that customer base, once you have the customer details from there, you can pitch your own products to them. So it happens like a cross sell as well.
So your customers are typically the B2B customers, right?
No, not
Okay.
necessarily. They are mostly B2C customers also, B2B customers also. It's like both.
Okay. So once you decide, let's say this product you have designed. So what are the key steps in the product design?
Okay, so first of all, like with technology coming into the picture in the finance sector in a more regulated fashion, like the regulation and compliance falls first. So most of the systems right now as well, they are working in the traditional sense, where we basically, how do I put it? They kind of are expanding into the data that I talked about, like from direct data to indirect data, capturing more variables.
Okay.
So it starts from a data scientist. It starts from an analysis.
Okay.
So when our data scientists or analysts are analyzing the information, analyzing the different data sources, they come up with variables that might now be like significant in deciding the credit worthiness of a customer or not. Like now, whether they're significant or not, that decision falls with the data science team. Now, once they come up with risk signals, that these are the real risk signals that are significant to our analysis, that might help in analyzing a customer's intent better, then we analyze that on our historical data, like how the customers have performed in the past. Now, taking this additional variable into the picture, how we might have better recognized defaulters, or we might have recognized customers that we would have upsold to.
Okay.
Like we could have given a loan of a higher ticket size because they are loyal customers. We could not identify it at that point of time.
Okay.
Now, once the analysis is into place and we have a proper risk signal, we decide where to put it in our product. So, like every customer goes through a loan journey. First is they are basically pitched that you might be offered a loan up to this amount. Then, like we give them an offer. They come to our app or wherever branch, and we give them a proper offer after collecting some data from them. So now they have a final amount. Now, in different stages of the journey, where they provide us the bank account, where they provide us their PAN, there are different checks that are run. So, like now the new risk signal, depending upon where we have that data available in the customer journey, we try to incorporate that check or risk signal into our customer journey. Now, in the product, in the whole like larger product that sits, we have a bunch of smaller products for each part of the journey of the customer. Identifying where the risk signal would sit and where we will have that information readily available is the first part.
Okay.
Now, after identifying that, we also need to do a redundancy check, whether that risk signal already is overlapping with something that is existing to us.
Risk signals are inbuilt in the product, right? The
risk signals are data.
Okay.
They are data points.
Yeah.
Like if I have defaulted in past 2 loans per se, that might be a risk signal. That nowadays account aggregators are basically a new set of companies that offer us data across loans.
Okay.
Like until now, every company had data only from how they had interacted with that customer in the past. Suppose I was taking a loan from another bank. I go to a new bank. They might not know that I had taken a loan before this.
Okay.
Now, with the emergence of account aggregators, we have cross-functional data on the customer.
Okay.
So now we can identify the credit history better.
Okay.
So that might be one of the risk signals, me defaulting in a previous loan, which might not be surfaced earlier, but with the availability of data points, it is now surfacing.
Okay. So the data defines the workflow. Okay.
Yes.
So coming back to Aviral. So what is your project for you, and how do you define the project, and how do you, product and execute it?
Sure. So as Riya mentioned, so increasingly project management is now getting absorbed into product management. So I'm now handling both.
Yeah.
Initially, there was another dedicated project manager. So now to actually talk about the product, so it's essentially a capital planning product, and we are serving traditional US governments.
Yeah.
So for example, American Highways, for example, they can be one potential customer. So let's say if they have to, build, let's say a bridge or a highway, for example, right? So they have certain construction lifecycle needs which they want to work through a product. For example, they want to do capital planning.
So what is the product? So again, we want to understand what is it. Let's say a construction company like L&T or someone is doing that bridge.
Yeah.
So where do you come on, and what is your product?
So product is capital planning product, where you can actually forecast your budget, and you can enter your funds, and you can see where exactly your budget is getting shortfallen and stuff like that. So the whole capital planning is the product here.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's also like it's an AI powered product.
Okay.
You can do.
So this product is typically used by the construction company.
Yes, exactly.
Or the government.
Yeah. So that's the very first step. So it's the government mostly.
Okay.
Right. We are expanding into private sector as well.
Okay.
But traditionally it has been public sector, major US governments.
Okay. So let's say US government decides that this highway, think of so it's like this highway is being built. So in this highway, so what is the capacity, or what is the financial planning and so on?
Right.
So what's the other checkpoints in this let's say in the product, what is built in?
Yeah, so what's most important for public sector is they don't actually care about ROI, so to say, which
okay.
private sector is very much interested in. But government sector's most important priorities, they want to utilize the funds that they have been allocated.
Okay.
Because every year, let's say it gets lapsed if you don't utilize it fully. So their main objective is to actually fully utilize the funds in an efficient way.
Okay.
So that's where capital planning, efficient capital planning comes into the picture.
Okay.
Where they can list down all the projects that they intend to take in the next capital window, let's say for 5 years.
Okay.
Now they can go about and prioritize the projects, which projects they should prioritize based on what's the budget required to execute a specific project and what are the funds that they have and what can be the timelines when they are not falling short of cash and stuff like that. So that is the whole need which we solve for them, basically. Yeah.
So what are the different steps in this case? So in the product development stage,
Right.
so what do you do
In terms of building the product, you're
in
saying?
terms of building the product?
Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially,
So
how?
let's say
yeah.
your client is, as I understand, let's say the chief engineer in a government
Right.
organization,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
decides to commission this highway. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And then you are building a product for
Exactly.
the
So how do we go about building
how
the
do
product?
you go about building the product?
Sure.
What are the processes and what are the checkpoints?
Sure. So I'll give you some context that we have a legacy software as well, which is in existence is like 20 plus years now. So that is a complete construction lifecycle product, which we are now breaking down into specific segments, as in a capital planning product and then a product specifically for the build phase of the construction lifecycle and so on. So we already have customers who we know what exactly their needs are, right?
Okay.
So now since we are breaking the existing product into next gen products, so we already have some understanding of what exactly they might need because they have already been using certain features in our existing legacy product, right?
Okay.
So we come up with certain features on our own. So it's a very so the way we are going about is very experimental. We are going very fast, which has never been seen in the organization's history before. So we launched our product in just 4 months, and the prototype for that, I built that in just like 6 weeks, an end-to-end prototype, which was like the entire copy of the actual product. It was just not meant, to be used by the real customers, but it was having everything, your front end, back end database. So that's where, product management is changing these days. That you can come up quickly with the end-to-end prototypes that seem like the exact product that the customer might use.
Okay.
Then your sales teams can go and use that product and demo it to the customers, basically.
Okay.
So now you can start onboarding customers even before you have the actual product, right? So that is how product management is even changing these days.
Okay. So let's say there is a legacy product, right?
Right.
What are the additions or advanced features? So how do you come up with the idea of a new product here?
Right. So the way we come up with is so the thing is, first US governments or any such potential clients come up with RFPs, which is request for proposals.
Yeah.
Then a lot of competitors in serving in that domain actually submit the proposals.
Yeah.
So from the RFPs itself, we get to understand what exactly do they actually need. What are the requirements for them, right? So that's essentially the first thing that we can look at.
Yeah.
So then we get to know that okay, these are the kind of features that potential clients are actually looking for. So we come up with the first version based on those features itself, and then we hand it over to the customer. So let's say in demos, now we are having a demo with
So
a
the
potential
government
customer.
invites you to present the demos to all the companies.
Yeah, so there's a sales team which actually which actually goes after the US clients, government clients, and they set up a call basically.
Okay.
Then we as product managers go into the call and then we demo them whatever we have come up with.
Okay.
Then they can give us certain feedback that they also would want to have certain kind of feature. Then those kind of conversations, the feedback that we get in the actual demos, then they define our roadmap as well. That okay, these are the kind of features which are still missing in our product.
Give examples of some of the features or some.
For example, you can say that okay, let's say in V1 we didn't have any AI based feature. We just have a capital planning product which can help you prioritize your projects. Now let's say we went into a demo with one of the potential customers and they mentioned that okay, a lot of our let's say other folks are using AI these days, so can we also use AI to actually do this better? So then that can inform our strategy that okay, customers are actually wanting AI into their workflows. So now we can come up with AI powered scenario planning. For example, you can just give it a natural prompt that okay, these are the projects and these are the budgets and funds. The product already has all that data. You can just say that okay, I want to prioritize in a way that okay, I want to prioritize the projects which have a ROI of more than 15% only, and it should fall within the budget. Then the AI can actually do that analysis for you. It can come up with a list of projects that you can actually prioritize that falls within your budget. So these are the kind of enhancements that we can come up with based on our customer's request. So that is one such example.
Okay. So let's say the prototype. So how long the prototype typically?
Yeah. So
takes
when we
for
say
you?
prototype, there are lots of levels of a prototype. So one is traditionally how people look at prototypes is it's just a UI UX thing, right?
Correct.
Just a UI. So that is not what we come up with. We come up with end-to-end prototypes, which you can call almost as a product itself.
It's like 90% of the product. Or what
Exactly. It's 99% of the product. Apart
Okay.
from the compliance and those kind of things, we don't take care of those things
Okay.
for the prototyping. But it is actually the whole product. You can if you as a customer actually go into the product, if you sign in and if you start using it, it will all be the same. It's just that we are not that much caring about security or compliance and those kind of things. But apart from that, functionality wise, it's end to end. So that is the kind of prototypes that we come up with. And I have myself done that when I joined the organization. This was the project which started when I joined, and we had a 4 months timeline.
Yeah.
So I conveyed to my manager that these are the kind of skill sets that I have. I understand how to code and I understand how system design works. I've worked at previously at Bajaj Finserv where I got exposure to how to scale your application to millions of users. So I have that kind of system level understanding. So he said, why don't you come up with a working prototype for our customers, for the sales team, who can then start showing that to the customers itself that this is a rough version of the product that we have come up with. By the time you get onboarded, they will hand over the polished version to you, and that's how it actually went about. By the time these things actually take time, onboarding customers because they also have to get approvals because these are
Okay.
these require everything requires money. You have to get approval of your board and stuff. So it takes months to actually finalize a deal. And by the time the deal gets finalized, we are already there with the actual product. So that's how we onboarded.
So let's say the customer gave you feedback, based on that you refined the product and so on, right?
Yes.
So and that is minimal, or how much refinement you need?
So refinement is actually it's not. I mean, some of those things can be big. That okay, this is also something new. But traditionally, we don't find something that's totally surprising for you. For us, we almost know that okay, these are the kind of things that we have been serving traditionally with our legacy product to the customers. They can't suddenly come out of nowhere and asking for something very drastically different that we haven't even thought of. So it's not usually that way. It's mostly minor enhancements. Let's say they are seeing a list of projects. Now they are interested in seeing the list of projects in a map view as well. It's not just a list of names, but they also want to see in a global map where exactly the project sites are there, right? So that can be one feature enhancement that our customers might, give us feedback on. So then we can plan it for the next release or sprint. So that's how these things work. So it's not something very drastically different, but some user enhancements, basically UI UX enhancements.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the interesting part is, in this case, your client being government and so on, and very large decisions to do.
So pure B2B product.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the prototypes have to incorporate everything. Otherwise, the government is also difficult to work with unless you have a very final product. And so on.
And then there are certain compliance requirements that our customers ask for, that okay, are we this compliant or not? Are we that compliant or not? Then we also have to work on those things. So it's not just the functional requirements that we as product managers have to take care of. It's also the other compliance requirements as well, because governments, it's the government sector, and then there are lots of regulations around it as well. So we have to take care of that as well.
So how do you, let's say that there is a change in the regulation, okay? So governments keep on changing. So how do you incorporate that in the product?
So it's usually the customers only that inform that approach. They ask for it, that whether we are that compliant, let's say a specific compliant or not. Then we get to know that okay, this is something we have to execute. Then we start executing trials on that. Okay, let's scan for it. For example, we might have to use certain software to check whether it's compliant with people who are disabled or not, whether we are able to serve those kind of customers. So then we run such scans, and then it can give a certain report that okay, these are the things which are not that suitable. Then we will come up and refine. So we build the roadmap accordingly, and we groom our engineers that okay, these are the things that we need to change, and then we define the scope and the timelines, and then the engineers work on it, and then we hand it over to our customers, and then we take feedback again. So we are in direct touch with our customers.
Once you, let's say, deliver a product, what is your role after that? How much?
So once we deliver the product, so let's say we launched our product like 6 months back. Okay, in 4 months we launched the V1 of the product. Now we have every month a cycle where we release new features, right? So we have a 6 months, let's say, roadmap, planned ahead of the existing version. We keep on releasing every month based on our own features that we want to put out. Apart from that, since we have started onboarding customers, now we have people who are actually using the product. So they also keep giving us feedback. So we keep on checking with our customers whether how's your experience, is there anything that we can help you out with, and what would be something that would help you more in order to do your tasks better. So we keep direct touch with our customers, and they also help inform our strategy for the next release, so to say. So every month we are pushing out new features. So that's how fast we are moving.
Okay. So how is your team organized? Let's say the
Yeah.
prototype or where you are working in the RFP stage,
Right.
and to be outside near completion products and the release or refinement. So is your team defined like that? Or
Yeah,
how is it?
so the way it works is, so initially we used to have a very different structure in the whole organization, but the team where I joined, that was an experimental team.
Okay.
Where a pod structure was defined.
Okay.
That in this team, it will be a team comprising of a few engineers, one PM, one designer, and some QA testing folks.
Okay.
All right. So that's the team. That was an experimental stuff for the whole organization.
Okay.
Then we successfully launched the product in just 4 months, and
Yeah.
it was a huge success.
Yeah.
So that's whole structure, that's the same structure got replicated to the whole org now. So that is how teams are structured now. It's a pod structure where all the folks come together and decide on what needs to be done and stuff. It's not just the product manager here which takes all the decisions. We actually take engineers and designers also in the call when we are brainstorming on a certain feature. Everyone can give their inputs. Engineers can give their inputs in terms of how technically feasible is that. Designers can give their inputs in terms of how good will that look, or whether that's a good user experience or not. So it all happens together. And then we finalize things and create PRDs or prototypes, and then we finally
Explain what is a PRD and
yeah. So a PRD is essentially a product requirements document.
Yeah.
So it essentially scopes out all the requirements that you want to serve your users with. Basically, you detail out all the features, which specific feature you want to build, what exactly is that supposed to do, what are the constraints. Let's say clicking on this button should not allow that specific thing. So all those constraints and requirements and actionables need to be detailed out for the engineering team, because when you are coding the requirements, right, when you are building a feature via code, you have to know what are the constraints around it, what a user should be able to do, what should they not be able to do. All of those things have to be communicated clearly to the engineers, and PRDs serve as a way to do that. So we definitely come up with prototypes directly to show it to the engineers that, okay, this is how it should look. But a PRD is still not gone from the picture, right? Because you have to detail out somewhere what exactly are the constraints. You can't show everything in the UI,
Yeah.
right? So you have to show what goes in the backend, what constraints are there, and what exactly should not happen. All those things go into a PRD, which is just a document with the product requirements and everything around that I just talked about. And the engineers then can follow them while they are actually building the feature.
okay.
Yeah.
Good. So okay. So yeah. So tell us. So what are the change processes? Let's say we discussed about once the product is designed. So how often you change your product, and how do you go about this? Let's say and how do you collect customer feedback if this lending product is working or not, and what is your process in that sense?
Yeah. So basically, once we come up with a set of policies or set of rules, if they work or not will only be analyzed once the product is live.
Okay.
So when the product is live and the policies have run for a certain amount of time, then we basically take the data, analyze it to the deepest level possible, and check our thresholds or the values that we have put in, or the risk signal intensity that we have put in.
Okay.
So depending upon that, like if we launch a new risk signal and we are seeing like many applications getting rejected and it's leading to a business loss,
Okay.
then we would want to basically edit that or
The
threshold
rule,
or
yeah.
edit the signal or the factoring variable that decides like how serious that signal would be taken into the picture while taking the decision, because it always has to be a balance between business and risk. If we control risk a lot in a lending firm, then we won't be able to give a loan to anyone.
Yeah.
If
So
we,
the basic difference
Yeah.
here is here the government is a client and the projects
Yes.
are huge, right? So the decision making is a more elaborate and due diligence.
Yes.
Here your customers are small. You probably
Yes.
have to be more dynamic and
Yes.
more. Each stage the risk assessment changes, right?
Yeah,
For
this-
each client it has to go through different process and all.
yeah, the scale has to be thought of
Yeah.
at every we can't make the product too specific to a certain customer,
Right.
like in Aviral's case, because we have to cater to scale.
Yeah.
And it's diverse. Like
Yeah.
diversity and inclusion has to be a bigger part of the decision making on a feature,
Yeah.
rather than the other case where the product can be very customized according to a certain business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you go about with the product? Let's say you understand that this lending process is having a lot of rejection rates. So how do you refine the algorithm, or how do you refine the parameters?
Yeah, so we have different stages. So we like check the rejection rates at different stages. We do customer segmentation, and depending upon the rejection rates in different segments, we try to provide them with an alternate offering or adjust the risk like benchmarks for that particular offering only. So it's mostly like a lot of features are there, like in any machine learning algorithm per se. We have a lot of features. We have deep neural networks. So like basically a lot of features involve a lot of thresholds and a lot of combination of features also.
Okay.
So to arrive at a certain combination, to arrive at a certain feature selection, we have to do a lot of data analysis. So basically like that falls into the data science team of any lending platform.
So how is your team
No.
organized? Okay,
Yeah.
as we discussed, what are the typical key roles in your team and organization?
So we follow a functional plus divisional structure.
Okay.
So the major teams are organized by function, like the product function, tech function, data science function, or HR function. Now in those functions, we have divisions depending upon the product.
Okay.
Like for each product, like product 1, 2, 3, each function has separate set of people who work on product set 1, product set 2, product set 3.
Okay.
If I give an example, for example, we have an analytics team that sits through, and that is called the analytics function, the analytics division. Now the analytics division might be divided by products. Like this is the first product that we work on. These 2-3 members will cater to all the analytics need of product 1. The other 2-3 members will cater to all the needs of product 2. So that is how.
So within that functional team, they define the roles or alignment with specific products.
Yes.
The product team doesn't get have a dedicated team in this case, where you have people from different functions to communicate.
Yes, that's not the case here. But the product team is also divided into functions depending upon the product that they manage. It's
Okay.
like product 1, 2, 3. So there might be different sub-product teams within the larger product team itself. Now, one unique thing about product management is we get to interact with a lot of stakeholders.
Correct.
It's not just the team that we interact with, not just the engineers and analysts, but the business stakeholders, risk stakeholders, everyone up to the CXO level also might be a part of the decision making in terms of what the feature selection or what the risk policy should be. So it involves each level of level in the hierarchy of the organization that we talk to, and each of the divisions that we talk to avoid at a synchronous result that this is how our product should look like.
So when you say synchronous result, right, what is the idea here? How do you come up with that? Is there a like the product charter, or you have a product PIC or it's PRD or some of those product document, or any specific objective for a product level, or how do you?
Yeah,
what
so
is the
we have-
goal and how do you define that?
So we have PRDs. Now in our case, the PRDs mostly consist of 3 major things. First is functional requirement, second is data requirement, and the third is the technical design. Now technical design comes from the engineering team, functional requirement comes from the business team, data requirement comes from the data science team. Now all 3 of them should take into account the feasibility and at the same time should achieve the goal for which the PRD is being created. Suppose we want to introduce a new type of check in our system. Now the business team would not want, the ones who give the functional requirement would not want that their business takes a lot of hit because of that new check. The functional requirement should be catered in such a should be consolidated in such a way that it does not hit any of the teams very badly. So there should be a balance between risk and business all the time. So first we need to have a meeting, putting all the stakeholders into one place where they discuss it among themselves that what should be the balanced functional requirement for a product. Next comes the data requirement, whether to execute that functional requirement, we even have the relevant data sources with us, data points with us or not. That is more on the feasibility perspective. Now, once we know that we want to execute this check, we also have the required data into place, then we come on to the technical design.
Okay.
Whether that solution can be integrated with some of our existing solutions or whether we need to develop a new solution for that. So the engineering team follows, falls much downstream into the picture, where we have to decide whether we have to execute it in as a part of something existing or as a new thing.
Okay.
Like it is not a much of a challenge in terms of innovation. Like as I talked about in finance, compliance comes first, then comes innovation. So obviously the engineering team follows much downstream into the picture. The functional requirement, the audit and compliance comes first. So that is how our PRD flows.
So basically, you are again first eye is on compliance, then
Yes.
on customer and
Yes.
competition. How do you track and how do you incorporate competition products into your features and so on?
Yeah, so mostly, as I mentioned, it's a B2C plus a B2B company.
Correct.
So, like B2B sector takes care of partners who are partners with other lending companies as well. So, there is less, like, since we have many partners, there is less of like distinction that we can offer because of the audit compliance things also, and because of the partner being partner to multiple lending firms. So, differentiation plays less of a role here.
Okay.
Much of a role is played by the opportunities, the kind of
Okay.
like policies that you have. That is the major chunk. Competition is not a very major factor, differentiating factor in our business.
Okay. So both of you have talked about data being primary thing and analysis and so on. So what is, how much, let's say in terms of engineering or data science part, you yourself do in your role? Yeah, let's start.
Okay, so when you say engineering, so essentially when I say I build prototypes, so it's essentially the whole engineering part that I'm taking care of for the prototype, right?
Okay.
So because it has to be like 99% similar to the actual product, so that's where all your understanding of how the code works, how the system design works, how your database gets connected, and
So
how
do you
exactly-
have, I mean, coding background or how
Yes.
much coding or engineering you do, or is it done by another team?
Yeah, so in terms of traditional engineering, I don't engineer the actual product. So that's a separate engineering team which works on it. So as I said, in our pod, there are a few engineers who work on the actual product. But since I started with building a prototype in which we just quickly handed it over to the sales team, which then started, onboarding customers. So for that also, you have to know all the engineering, basically the coding. I do have coding background, so that actually helps. So you do have all the coding tools these days, let's say Cloud Code and, Codex and whatnot. So these things help with coming up with something, but unless you actually know the fundamentals of how the code works, how the system design works, you can't actually create something that can actually be used by people. So in our case, we can even ask our customers to actually log in and use the product. So that is how it helps. If you just are coming up with a quick prototype out of just lovable without having any fundamentals, clear, you can just come up with certain UIs which can't actually be used by any real person. So that's the kind of engineering that I actually use in my day-to-day role, even as a PM. So I would say product manager's role is actually changing towards more product builder,
Okay.
where you are expected
Okay. Where I was
increasingly-
going, yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
To know more about the technical aspects, basically. And it also helps, you to communicate better with your engineers. So engineers naturally give you more respect as a PM if you also understand what are their constraints, what how much time will they actually take to come up with a certain feature. So if you are having tech understanding, then you actually work better with your team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much
Yeah.
technology?
So in my case, I was a data engineer before MBA. Now, so I understand data better. So the kind of role that I'm in is actually can be classified as data product management.
Okay.
So in product management also, we can have different types of product management. One is product marketing management, data product management, operational product management. So my role can more fit into data product management because our products live on data.
Correct.
Basically, all the policies, all the things, they live on data as their soul. So we cannot work without data. And in my day-to-day, like we do have data scientists, analysts working with us. We can give that task to them, any type of analysis to the minute level that we have to do. But like understanding the data falls as a core to my role as well. Like if I don't understand it, I can't give that requirement to an analyst in the best way possible. So there are times where I also have to be hands-on and I also have to go to the database, query the data, find the results, look into analysis, because every time if I'm into a loop with going into another person for any little requirement that I have, then that doesn't work.
Okay.
Because to understand, to conceptualize the requirement, I also want to and have to know the data better.
Okay.
Otherwise, I won't know that what kind of data is available or what can be potentially available, and I can't basically come up with new policies. I can't think of things in a very better way. Either I have much experience in the lending sector itself or in
Okay.
some bank, and I know
Either on the functional expertise. Okay.
yeah, I know everything that this is the kind of data that is available in the market, or I go on to explore. So, in being in the early stage of my career, I have to be hands-on with data, hands-on with analysis, and I also have to interfere with the role of a data engineer or a analyst at times and tell them like this is
So if
also
your
a
data analyst
possibility.
doesn't show up for a day, you can replace.
Yes, kind of, you can say that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the interesting idea is, so there are development engineers or data analysts, but the a data product manager or a product manager today, as I can summarize, is that today needs to be at least in early stage. You should be able to hands-on and do the work
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly. That's
They
very
are
important.
capable of doing that work, but to monitor and have a better grip on the product,
Yes.
the product manager should be more hands-on and have some knowledge, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
especially with AI coming up, if you want to incorporate AI features into your product, then a lot of tech understanding in that domain also is needed. Because now you are not just building a deterministic system, you're building a non-deterministic system, which can behave in any way,
Okay,
right?
so let's
Yeah.
elaborate it further. How is
Sure.
how in today's world? Okay, so this part we didn't discuss in our course much, right? The AI, but at
Yeah,
some point
yeah.
I wanted to have a conversation on this.
Right.
So how is AI changing your role as a product manager, and what kind of tools you use today?
Sure. So when we say AI impacting any role, so it's essentially there are two aspects how AI can impact a role. One is the way you use AI to actually do something. Another is you actually incorporate AI into your products. Right. So these
Okay.
are the two aspects.
Yeah.
So if I have to talk about the first one for now, so it's basically since day one I have been using AI products into my role.
Yeah.
I went into my organization, I was asked to build that prototype, but we had already a product called Lovable, which other PMs were using. But I said for my use case, this is not enough because I want to build the end-to-end entire working version, not just the UI stuff. So I said I would need Cursor for this. So at back then, Cursor was kind of popular in that. So I was the first one who came up with the idea of using Cursor. Then I got it approved from the security and stuff, and then I started using Cursor. So using Cursor, I built the end-to-end prototype, and then we handed over to the sales team and all, whatever I talked about. So these are the kind of things that we have access to. And after Cursor, then I thought it's getting more expensive or not that good. So then I experimented with Cloud Code. Now we are using Cloud Code for that. So it's not just me now. So yeah.
The
So
organization.
right. So how it started was I initially used to just build prototypes, but then I figured that okay, a lot of let's say meetings that happen day to day, right? So it's very difficult to keep the context of everything that's going on, to keep it in your head. And so it used to get very difficult to again go back to the recordings. Okay, what was discussed, and then document those things and all.
Okay.
So I thought, why not automate these things that whenever we have a meeting, let's put the transcript into a certain a place, and then that transcript should get processed into a structured document which will detail out what were the key decisions taken in this meeting, who said what, who is responsible to work on what feature, and how what the whole thing looks like in a structured format. So I came up with a script built via Cloud Code. I use Cloud Code to automate that stuff. Now I just have to take the recording and put it into a folder. Then the whole thing Cloud Code takes care of. It transcribes that into a structured document and then pushes it to Notion. So I've connected Notion via an MCP server. So the whole documentation of every day goes into a Notion's folder. And now I can go anytime and just ask. Yeah. So I can just go to Cloud Code because now
So you don't have to take physical notes like your
exactly.
notebook.
I don't have to take that at all. So now I have, let's say over the past month, I've been doing the same. Now I can go and ask Cloud Code simply what was decided about this specific feature and who is working on this. It will simply search over all those documents, whatever it transcribed, and then it will give me the answer. And not just that, even for creating, let's say, product backlog items. So for engineers, we create PBIs out of Azure DevOps, let's say. Okay. So now I don't even have to type that manually that, okay, what is this engineer supposed to work on? I will go to Cloud Code. I will say, now I have to create a PBI for this specific feature using all the context that you have, come up with a certain basic draft for it. And I even connected DevOps with Cloud Code via an MCP server again. And then it directly pushes it out to Azure DevOps. Now the engineer get assigned a PBI via just Cloud Code. I don't even open DevOps just to actually do that. But yeah, human in the loop is very important when you are working with AI. You can't just completely hand it over everything. You have to be in the loop. You have to validate whatever it has come up with. Is it, looking good or not? is there something missing? Because it's a non-deterministic thing in any ways. You can't trust it 100%.
So these meetings are online meetings or physical?
Yeah, so for me, it's mostly online because there's an India team, but our manager and other engineers sit out of South Africa. So we have online meetings every day, and that helps me the most because now I can just simply capture and do all of these things. So these things I showed it to my manager and to the other team members, and they were very impressed. So my manager came up with the idea that why don't you conduct this workshop for the whole organization, and then so that everyone can start using Cloud Code in a better way for their day-to-day. So then they talked to the senior leadership about this thing. They said, okay, let's start with the product org itself first, and then we'll scale it to the whole org. So then a workshop was organized, which I conducted for the whole product management team, which was like more than 20 plus PMs and designers. And I showed them how exactly I'm using Cloud Code in my day-to-day. And everyone got onboarded to that system. I created a GitHub repo for everyone, which they can just download, and they can also start using these systems. So it's going very well.
So that's the first part of your...
So that is how AI is changing the way we work, basically. So that's the first part. The second part is when we use AI in our products. Okay. So as I said, we have come up with a feature where you can use AI to do the scenario planning. So what a scenario is a collection of projects that a specific customer might intend to take in a specific capital window. So let's say one of the US governments has a list of 100 projects. Now they want to prioritize which ones they want to take it for the next year. So they can do that via AI now. So those are the AI capabilities we have put into our product. And the way we go about these things is it's very important to validate whether the response that AI is giving is correct or not. So we have data of, let's say, more than 20 plus years already in terms of what kinds of projects get prioritized. As I mentioned, we have a legacy product, so we have lots of data. So using that data, we can come up with certain golden data sets, which can define that, okay, these are the kind of right answers, right? And then we can validate our own AI's response with those kind of data sets and improve its efficiency, basically. So those are called evals. Evaluations are a very critical part of building any AI product. So that is what we have to take care of in terms of while we go about building such products. And then latency and cost are also very important factors where you need to keep in mind whether you're even able to support your customers in the current deal, right? Because AI costs can go very high. You need to come up with certain guardrails. How much AI usage is even allowed by the customer? How do you go about the pricing? So those are all things that are totally redefined in the new AI era. You can't just go about pricing it the way you used to price deterministic systems like traditional SaaS products. With AI coming into the picture, you have to be very thoughtful of how you are going to price it now. Because even the major AI companies in the world today, let's say ChatGPT, they are not really making much money out of it. They are in loss, right? They just conducted a survey, ChatGPT conducted a survey and came up with a figure of $20 a month, and they blindly implemented that. And other companies also blindly followed the same pricing, that they have a $20 pricing model per month for their subscribers. But that's not actually profitable for them. They're giving us in a very cheap way as of now, and they can't keep it sustainable that way. So pricing, even with the biggest companies in the world, is not yet fixed right now. So we have to be very thoughtful.
Is there a pressure from, let's say, within organization or from your clients to build AI oriented products?
I mean, so in our company, we also host certain summits where we invite all our customers and show them what we are working on. So we have seen that they're very keen on seeing whether we are coming up with certain AI, initiatives or not, whether their product, the one that they're using from us, will have AI capabilities in future or not, even the legacy one. So they are pretty much keen. So AI is actually a thing which they want to use increasingly now. So that's what's defining our strategy.
Okay, I will come to AI. So now, Riya, so tell us what is the impact of AI, or how much AI you are using in your personal role and as well as in your products?
Yeah. So basically, Aviral talked about how AI can be vertically classified into how you use it in the product versus how you use it in a personal life. Now, for making it like a matrix structure, the other two sides can be how much of it is used in augmentation and how much of it is used in automation.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, augmentation is one part where we as humans be in the loop.
So good. The 2x2 is professional versus product, and augmentation versus
That's a pretty great addition.
Automation. Good.
2x2s.
Nice.
Learn from MBA.
So that's
I'm
good to
excited to
be
hear
in
what's
MBA.
next.
That's good to be MBA. Good.
Yeah. So like right now, where augmentation is where we humans are also in the loop, and we are also basically assisting AI. AI is assisting us, and together we are coming to make a decision. Now, nowadays, what is happening is there is increasing pressure on organizations to incorporate AI. If you don't incorporate AI, then you'll fall behind. Now, what people are doing with increasing things, like earlier when ChatGPT earlier came into the picture, it was like in academics, we should not use ChatGPT. That was the earlier perception. And
Okay.
now with years, it is becoming like you use ChatGPT, but you declare it. Now we are open in exams that
Okay.
you use ChatGPT, you give me a prompt that can give the best answer to this particular question.
Okay.
So we have seen a great shift. But now at the last stage, the shift is kind of becoming a bit unproductive to humans. Like in many of the meetings or many of the courses also, we see people coming up with AI generated content which they themselves are not familiar with. And they are like telling it proudly that we have generated this content
In
using
1
AI
hour,
and
yeah.
we don't know what is written in the document, we will go through it together. That is not how it should work. Like automation should work in cases where you there is no human quality that can impact the work that is done at the end. When you are generating a PPT, a document, or anything for course submissions, or in organizations as well, you're generating PRDs, you should always be in the loop. You should always check what the AI is generating for you. Is it right or not? If every company, every person will start using AI, just AI to generate all the documents, then all the documents at the end will look the same. Like there won't be any differentiating factor. So how much you are augmenting your own human intelligence with the AI gives you a better product at the end, and it is what will differentiate you at the end.
Okay.
Now I can use automation to place my orders, to place my grocery orders, to shop online, to post suppose on social media. But what will differentiate me at the end? Like everyone knows, like many of the social media posts these days are AI generated. Now, who will read it at the end? The person who sees value in your post. Your amount of intervention, your amount of augmentation, the amount of value that you, the personal touch that you can add in your in the content that you publish or in the content that you create will differentiate you at the end. People who will just use AI to automate without using their intelligence at all will like fall into the crowd, is what I believe.
Okay.
So on a personal level, I think some of the tasks can be automated. Like Aviral talked about meeting transcripts. Those are some things that can be automated very easily. But suppose there is a meeting that there's a decision that has to be taken after the meeting. He has to like ask AI what was the context, but that decision he has to take by himself.
Exactly.
If he asks AI that this is the decision I have to take, and like just give me the decision.
Yeah.
That is
You
a
have moved to
different
my
level
next
of-
question. Good. So the next question is, how do you see AI evolving your roles? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So that is automation, which is not required. Like me getting out of my role completely is not required at this point of time. If I go and ask, like to make that decision, what are the options right now? Present me the result, like each of the options with the risk, with the pros, cons, and risks of the option, and what all factors should I consider. That is a good way to go about it. The final decision at the end lies in my hands, but I am using AI to expand the perspective that I'm seeing. So like recently, I'll give you an example. So we were experimenting with a prompt that I want to wash my car and I need to go to a car wash which is 100 to 100 meters away from my home.
Yeah, yeah.
So should I walk or should I take
Yeah.
my car?
Okay.
So what I was surprised that when I put that prompt into Gemini,
Yeah.
so Gemini gave me two different perspectives. One was you can take the car to the car wash. The other was you can walk and check if there is a line outside the car wash or not, or what is the waiting time, and then you can take your car.
Yeah.
As a human, I was thinking like this is a trick question, and there's just one answer that exists, which is just take your car because that is the obvious option. I didn't think about that a person can also go to check the time and how much is the waiting time, what is the cost, if he needs to compare car washes or not, but Gemini could. So basically what like with different companies are doing with their AI products as well is like expanding the horizon which they cover in their answers. Like if it would have said ki take your car, that would have been a right answer. But a right and a elaborate answer is something that can also help human beings expand their perspectives, because each and every day we are coming up with like we have to face new challenges, new problems, new problem statements. Now the data that AI has been trained on can help me take a more informed decision in a way, not to take the decision on my behalf. For small things like placing a grocery order, of course, you can automate that. But for bigger things, we
Yeah.
have to be in the loop, is what I
So,
believe.
so you are not worried about this again. So with AI, every job has a now kind of what is the shelf life of a job or how many jobs are getting eliminated is a
Yeah.
primary concern
Yeah.
now.
Right.
So what's your thought? I mean,
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
now confident of the role, or how is it?
So I would say product management is not going away, but it's definitely evolving. The definition of it is totally changing.
Okay.
So I would say increasingly more and more product managers will become essentially agent managers.
Okay.
Because nowadays, whenever we say AI, so it's essentially an agent that someone is trying to build, right?
Okay.
So agent, I would just for the sake of audience describe what an agent is.
Yeah.
So an AI agent is essentially a model along with a harness around
Okay.
it, right? So models, when we say a large language model, for example, Gemini 3.1 or let's say Codex 5.4 or Opus 4.6. So these are the models which can serve as the brain behind your AI system that you are developing, right? You don't have to invent it from the scratch because the big AI labs have already done that for you. So that is one thing. But you can't build something just on top of your model, right? If you just take the model and just say become a rapper, you are not adding much value because that's something that they are already doing, right? If you are not doing anything apart from just having a model into your product, you are not essentially adding any value. That those are called wrappers, and those are the first ones to get eliminated when the next model release comes up with that feature, right? So that is not the way to go about it. So what the way to go about is to actually build a harness around your agent, around your model, which defines okay what are the capabilities that this model can actually do, what are the guardrails around it, okay what are the algorithms, how exactly does it work, how many times, let's say we can come up with an orchestrator model which can spawn multiple sub agents which can decide that okay this is the task at hand, now I break it down into multiple subtasks, and then the main orchestrator agent can actually designate the subtasks to various different sub agents, and then they go on and do those independent tasks and come back and report to the orchestrator agent. Now the task gets done. So that is the hardest around the model that you have built. You are not just using GPT straight out of the box and doing something. You are actually building a whole system around it. That is difficult to replicate. The way you design it won't be something out in the open, right? So that is how you go about it. So nowadays, whenever we come up with certain AI features, it's essentially an agent in the backend, right? So let's say now we come up with a certain scenario planning agent within our product.
Right.
So now I'm not just managing the product as a
You are
typical
also-
product manager. I'm also managing the
The
agent,
agent. Okay.
right? What's the cost that this agent is incurring? What is the latency? In how much time does the agent respond to the customer? Because that time also matters in the user experience. Because if it takes too much time, or if the expectation is not set to the customer that okay, it's gonna take some time, it will be a bad user experience, and you will see churn. Basically, your feature won't get used at all. So that will be a failure. There's no point. So you have to manage the latency, you have to manage the costs, you have to also manage the trust. How does the customer trust you that okay this AI is going to give you better or correct responses? So you have to also establish trust somehow that okay we have to come up with an explainable AI strategy that we can show what the agent is actually thinking, what it is thinking, what web searches it is conducting, how many sub-agents it is spawning, what are these sub-agents actually doing, and then what it comes up with as a response, what data is it actually referred as a context, what are the sources where it fetched certain data. All of these things make the explainable AI, and that actually helps with the trust. So that is also something that you have to manage. So there are multiple such things that you have to manage as an
Is
product
there any
manager.
guideline in terms of how do you create agents or manage agents and so on, or is it
Yeah,
evolving?
so big tech labs such as Anthropic, they actually keep publishing such things in terms of how to build agents and all. So they actually help you with the fundamentals in terms of how to go about the system design around building agents. So those things are there. But the rest of the things are actually, experimental only. You have to do it and see how is it performing for you. You have to keep evaluating, you have to keep monitoring where exactly is it failing, because an agent might fail at 2 a.m. when there's no one to watch. Then you have to have systems around it. How do you exactly, monitor or get alerted before itself when something is about to break. So those all things, it's not something new. So traditional engineering has always been doing such things, right?
Okay.
When you're running an actual infrastructure, let's say the servers and things to actually host your application, those are the kind of things that we have been doing since forever. It's not something new. It's just that those things are also now replicating with the AI system that we are coming up with. It's just that when people, let's say, hire for AI engineers, it's not that they are a different breed. They are the engineers who know the fundamentals of how infrastructure works, how multiple services communicate amongst each other, how do you exactly go about security and privacy and those kind of things with certain AI fundamentals. That's what an AI engineer, does basically. So yeah, it's essentially an infrastructure problem whenever we say we want to, manage the agents. So now when we talk about all of these things, so as a product manager, if you're managing such a product where you have AI agents, you also have to understand the technical depth around it. What kind of, things break, what factors you have to take into consideration while you're building an agent. So all of these things basically. So that's why I say product managers are increasingly becoming agent managers with time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting
Right.
perspective.
Also
Anything?
also to put it in one line, it's not the shelf life of the role that is changing, but the shelf life of the product has reduced a lot.
Okay.
So now we have to, like, we can ship many more products in the like duration where we could have shipped one maybe.
Yeah.
So, like, product management as a role is not going away, but if we don't adapt, then we'll fall behind other product managers very soon.
Yeah.
Like, there is a lot of revision in terms of the timelines in which engineers can deliver. That has reduced a lot with AI coming into the picture.
Yes.
The time in which the designers can come up with new designs and pitch it has reduced a lot with prototyping. And basically the timeline with which we can analyze a lot of data has reduced a lot. So analysis, engineering, design,
aspect, yeah.
everything has
Has
reduced.
the shelf life has
Yeah,
shortened.
and we have to keep updating our work according to that. We have to keep managing the team depending on that.
Yeah.
Because we need to make sure that the team is not sitting ideal when they have completed 3 days of work in 3 hours now with AI.
Yeah.
So we need to adapt our ways of working according to that.
So as Riya said, so execution has become very cheap now
Yes.
in terms of the building the product, designing something and all. But the judgment is where the moat lies now.
Yeah.
Because judgment can't be handed over to AI even as of now. That is where product managers come into play. So
Yeah.
that's what makes them even more important these days. And more folks from engineering and other aspects are actually moving into product now.
It's an integrated role, as you
Yes,
said, right? The
yeah.
engineering or project management
Yeah.
and the product management.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So anything. So again, so this is interesting. What do you think in terms of what helps? Let's say our students, if someone is interested in the role of product management
Yeah,
and so on,
yeah.
how do they prepare or what they should do? What should be the basic skill sets for a product manager in the evolving space today, as you have described?
Sure. So maybe I can start.
Yeah.
So first thing, fundamentals always matter. So the traditional, let's say, case books, even IMB has case books, right? From
Yeah.
Sigma, which is the product club. I was
Yeah.
a part of that too. So the fundamentals still matter. How do you go about, thinking about a product design problem? If you have been asked a question like, what's your favorite product and why, and what would you improve in it? So those things still matter. But with increasingly, the AI adoption and stuff, the things are changing now. That's not which just suffices, because more and more companies are incorporating AI into their workflows and into their products. So they tend to ask AI based on questions as well now. So you have to prepare for that new scenario. You have to understand all the technicalities that I previously talked about. So it's not just the product fundamentals, that still matters. So if someone is preparing for product management, you have to first start with the basics, start with product fundamentals. How do you solve a case, right? So IMB Sigma casebook can pretty
Yeah.
much help with that.
Yeah.
And apart from that, you have to be aware of the latest happenings in the world. Every day there is some new announcement happening. Claude, for example, Anthropic, they're releasing every day something new. So it's important to just keep up somehow with what's going on. You don't want to feel like a month behind because a lot of things change in even a month. So we both, so Riya and I actually started with an initiative called the AI Enabled PM. We started like 6 months back. So it's a newsletter which we release every Thursday, for example,
Okay.
which talks about how AI is changing product management, and not just every week. So that's the newsletter that we send every week, but every day we actually come up with the 3 latest AI news and how that impacts product managers every day. And we post it across socials like LinkedIn, Twitter, and now even Instagram. So those are the kind of things which can help anyone stay up to date with what's going on in the
And
AI
there is
world.
a lot of information, and you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
overwhelmed
exactly. Yeah,
now,
yeah.
right? How much
So
to follow
yeah,
and
yeah.
what
So
to?
yeah, so what I would say in this case is it's very important to come up with systems, right? So you can't keep track with everything that's going on, but you can have your agents keeping track those things for you, right? For example, so OpenClaw is an open source AI agent, you can say, which people are using nowadays. We are personally using that since months. So that can help you keep track of what's going on in the world. Let's say you can ask it to keep track of certain Twitter handles like from Anthropic, OpenAI, and whatnot, and you can ask it to keep a track of what's happening daily and what might be more important for you. So it can do all the research and analysis, and then can present every day to you what's going on in the world, what's new. So you can utilize such agents doing that job for you. You can't go around in the internet and search across everything, everything that's going on, but you can build certain agents that can do that job for you, and you will be staying up to date with whatever is happening. So the possibilities are endless when you use certain tools like OpenLaw. So even the founder of NVIDIA said it's the best software invention that has ever happened yet, which is the OpenLaw. I would say people should start using it. No, many people are not actually using it even as of now, but it's very powerful. But yeah, again, you have to understand what are the security issues with that, and also you have to play it safe. But it's very powerful, and it can help you with your daily analysis, whatever you want to do.
Okay, yeah.
And with things changing every day, like right now, it is very difficult to evaluate whether whatever is going in AI, how much of it is a bubble or how much of it will stay at the end. Because
Right.
it's like the context, the data, and a lot of things around AI that matter for companies in the long run. Now, with things being so dynamic, we don't know that which company will or which developer tool or like what will hike their prices so much that they are no longer usable to us. Suppose ChatGPT increases the subscription price by a lot and starts targeting B2B businesses. So in that case, it would become personally for us difficult to use. So I would say like we are not dependent on any one company or one particular brand while we go out to shop for clothes, to shop for groceries as well. We should not be dependent on particularly any one AI tool in the in the situation that is there right now. So there are many tools in the market. I would say things are still in development stage. So we should experiment. We should try it out. Whatever is easily available to us. We should not make it too specific. Like get married to a certain tool that this is the perfect thing for me. This is this is what I have to use. Because day to day things, prices, everything, as Aviral mentioned, that right now the prices are very less. They are subsidized, like it was in the case of GeoSIM when it was launched.
Yeah, it
Prices
was
were
free.
subsidized, and they're like right now we are seeing an oligopoly between Airtel and Jio in the market.
Yeah.
So we don't know which companies might lead, might lead and might stay in the game in the long run. Which companies might shut off. So it's an open mind that we need to go forward with right now, because it's a evolving space. Like getting married to a certain tool, getting married to a certain company's development will be harmful to us as people in the end. And I would also say that like getting too dependent on AI today will be very difficult, because different organizations have different guardrails and different tools that you use. Now, when you are going out in the job market, when you are basically searching for a role, that company might have very specific licenses specific to a certain people. And if you suppose as a software engineer today, you only know how to code with Claude Code, you don't know how to use any other tool, then that might be a negative thing that might be seen negatively in the job market today. So having that flexibility and exploring across is very important today. For example, when we learn coding in our engineering days, we get to learn how to code first in C. Then we expand to Python or other programming languages. We need to expand. Basically, you might learn one AI tool first, but you need to learn others as well. Otherwise, you don't know which company is coding in Python, in C, or in C++, or in Java, or say any other programming language. So you cannot make it specific. You cannot define your boundary right now, because that boundary will depends on a lot of factors. That tool itself, that like the company that you will work for in the future, and a lot of other things as well.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting perspective that Riya brought up.
So don't depend too much on the artificial.
Yeah, I would like to just
The
elaborate.
natural. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, on that. So we have recently seen the impact of one such thing. So initially we used to use OpenGlaw with Opus 4.6, which is a model by Anthropic. Right. So now Anthropic realized that okay, they are not able to sustain extensive usage by people who are using these models for long running 24/7 agents. So they came up with a strategy that okay, from now onwards we won't allow any third party tool to use our models. If you at all you want to use, you have to use the API. But API is very expensive. It's not at all feasible for anyone to use API unless you just want to throw away money. Right. So now that changes everything. You have to come up with certain other model. So now we switched to Codex, but then we saw that okay, the performance is not at all at par with what Opus 4.6 gave. Then we came up with a strategy that okay, we have to build a harness around it. We have to come with the approach. We explained the model that okay, this is the approach you have to use. Come up with an orchestrator agent, build executor agents which can also run on Codex itself, and then you have to, as an orchestrator, keep track of what the executors are doing and then inform us whenever it's done. So that's a simple change actually led to to almost the same results as before. So you have to be prepared with whatever changes the big labs might announce, and your entire strategy should not depend on just one thing. So that was where we saw the real impact happening in such a thing. So yeah, so that's very important in order to
I don't
right.
think today's generation is not much behind there, because we use Skyscanner for comparing flight prices. We go to Swiggy, Zomato, and multiple other food delivery agents to check where the cheapest food is coming from. So similarly, we need to keep a check on the AI tools
Right,
and companies as well. Like, where are we benefiting the most from? Where can we basically use the AI tool, and depending on the use case, which tool will best fit our use case.
Yeah, and to bring another perspective to that, so let's say now you as a company are using a specific model, let's say GPT or Opus, but what if they actually all of a sudden even announce a price change in that model itself, not the third party tool, but the direct usage itself? What if they come up with something which totally destroys your strategy? So that's where I believe open source models are the future. So it's not just the closed source models like GPT and Opus which are a thing. Open source models are also quickly trying to catch up, and they are the ones where I believe most of the people would start getting onboarded, because that is something you can host into your own infrastructure. You can host it into your own company servers. Your data is not leaving your servers to OpenAI or Anthropic, and you can manage everything around it, and it won't certainly come up with a certain change. So that is something you can control. So I believe experimenting with local models, the large language models which are coming up in an open source way. So I think that is something which organizations should start doing from right now itself, because a year from now you don't know what exactly is going to happen, because these big organizations might suddenly realize they are not able to sustain this way, and they might come up with certain very drastic changes where only a handful of companies might be able to afford. Then if you are not preparing yourself right now, then you might be up for a big surprise.
It's always a build versus buy decision at the end.
Yeah.
Organizations are very
So you should buy right now, experiment with them, but simultaneously start building your own infrastructure as well. Yeah,
excellent.
that will pay dividends. Yeah.
Good. Any other perspective in terms of okay, we discussed about AI. So just broadly, right? I mean, what is your feedback or any suggestions for our young students in terms of how to go about product management, what they can prepare for the roles or a life of a product manager in future, and so on? If anyone is aspiring for product management, or even entrepreneurship also is part of your developing product and so on. So what should?
So I would say just start, with observation. So you are using a lot of products in your day-to-day life. Just start observing what are the features you use the most and why do you use them the most, right? What are the features you don't use at all? And that can inform certain, insights in terms of what kind of features are needed by you and what kind of pain points you might have. But someone else might be using a certain different set of features. So it's very different, in terms of what pain points you might be facing versus someone else. So as a product manager, you have to understand the broader use case. You have to segment your audience and see what are the pain points for that specific segment. So that informs your product understanding, right? So that gives you some sort of product design sense. So if you start just with an observation in your day-to-day, apart from that, you have to understand the fundamentals, the case books and all. You know, a lot of resources. There's
Attend
no
the classes or the courses regularly,
Of course,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you didn't,
Yeah.
I don't know how much you attended. Yeah,
I
okay,
mean,
good.
so yeah, that's the first step, of course.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we are talking about what comes
Yeah,
after.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely the fundamental.
Okay.
So so even online, there are lots of resources. Just go through those things, learn how to solve cases and all. And then I already talked about how do you have to keep up to date with what's happening in the AI world, because a lot of product companies now evaluate you for that role as well, whether the AI initiatives that they're coming up with, whether you can be a good fit or not. So
Okay.
these are the things to start with.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, now like
Think of it as a young audience. Okay.
Yeah,
So they are
yeah.
just figuring out
Yeah.
what to do and things like that. Yeah.
Yes.
So what will work, what will not.
Yeah,
go ahead.
so since we are catering to a very young audience here, like in nearly like
18,
in your
20.
20,
Yeah.
starting of your 20s. So basically, I would like to share my journey once so that people understand that it's never too late to take a decision.
Yeah.
So I am a civil engineer by education. Then I was a data engineer for 2 years. Then I
Yeah.
did my MBA. I did my internship in finance. And very late, like nearly in my 5th term, I started preparing for product management, and I
Okay.
decided I want to be a product manager.
How did you decide? What was
Yeah.
your motivation
Yeah,
and so on?
yeah. So basically, MBA played a very critical role there.
Yes.
In BBA as well as in MBA, I believe that whatever courses are covered, like money is everywhere, finance is covered, products are everywhere, product
Products are-
management is covered.
Yeah.
Like in every stage of life, people are trying to sell things to you. Marketing is covered. Like every aspect of your life is covered in an MBA course.
Yeah.
Now, when you attend classes regularly, as sir said, and when you understand things, then it naturally comes to you like what is of interest to you and what are you looking for, the class you might be most interested in at this stage of life. So like you should try and connect with your peers or professors also in terms of discussing about whatever coursework is taught to you, and then like applying that to your life regularly. Like there might be course projects that are going on now, like there are 4 or 5 people. Now one person might take the job of a data steward, one person might take the job of managing the team when someone is doing what, one person might take on the strategy of the project, like what we have to do. Now noticing your life and noticing what you are naturally inclining towards will lead to what you are good at and what you ultimately have to do. Now when I tried a lot of things, as I mentioned, and at every stage I pivoted into what was seeming best to me at that moment. And with experience, now I have narrowed down verticals. I've discarded several things, tried them out, that this is something that will not work for me. It's very important to decide first what will not work for you rather than what will work for you. Because if you fixate your mind onto one thing, this will work for me, and suppose it does not, and you realize it at a later point of time until it's too late. So rather than doing that, decide what will not work for you. So first thing I did was, like while studying civil engineering, I crossed civil engineering out of the picture. That this is not something that I can do. I have to get
Most
into
engineers
a
do
non-good
that,
job.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then while doing data engineering, I was working in a consulting team. I striked off consulting out of the picture. That consulting is not something that I can do.
Okay.
Now I had finance, marketing, product management while coming into MBA. I tried finance, then striked it off.
Okay.
Then marketing versus product management. I decided कि ठीक है, first let me try product management. So that is how you should go about decisions. Like if I would have made my mind that this is, so I would want to be a software engineer, I would be laughing at myself sitting here at this stage of time where I am not near software engineering.
Okay.
So not narrowing yourself down and keeping the bucket as large as possible, but not too large so that you get confused is the key. Basically to decide, finding out your interest. And once you have found out your interest, there are many people out there who are willing to help you. Many industry professionals, many peers, many connections, your professors that will basically help you to like figure out what exactly to do to grow in that particular domain. And if it does not work for you, then it's always like there is an option to change. But like find out your core interest first and then go on pursuing it. Do not pursue interests and then find out like, no, this is not something that will work for me at the end. That is very important.
So you are more passionate about coding and technology
Yeah,
and
so I
so
can
on.
talk about my journey, how it evolved.
Good.
Yeah. So for me, even since my school days, I was very much interested into developing websites and all. So I was learning HTML before even joining college. So I was pretty much excited about how do people even create websites and products.
Yeah.
So that was the start for me. Then I entered into IT Kanpur as a bioengineer. So I always wanted to take up computer science courses and all. So that's what I did. I took data structures and algorithms, C++ and those kind of courses, machine learning and all. So and I also used to simultaneously work on building web development projects. So that's where I got exposure to how you actually build products. How do you actually code? So that was my foundation of coding. And then when placements happened, I got placed into two companies simultaneously. One was Bajaj Finserv, where it was not clearly defined what the role is. The other one was No Broker as a software engineer. But I chose Bajaj over No Broker because it was a big brand and I wanted that. But when I landed into Bajaj Finserv, it was not a traditional software engineering role where I got placed. It was a random allocation and I got placed into a team which worked in the cloud infrastructure domain. So cloud computing, so to say. And that was totally new to me. I was totally zero in terms of what a cloud is. And then that's where I started to learn about it. That. And then soon I realized that maybe it's the natural next step for me in terms of, because I already know how to build products. Now you need to know how do you actually serve millions of users? How do you scale that product, which can, which does not break when a lot of traffic starts coming into your product. So that's the exposure I got during my tenure at Bajaj Finserv. I also did a Azure Solutions Architect Expert certification. So I have extensive experience in system design now. So now for me, the stage was that I already know how to code. I already know how to scale it to millions of people, let's say. But I don't know what exactly to build at the first place. That is where product management lies. So for me, the natural trajectory was to get into product management so that I also know what to build at the first place. What do the users want? What is worth building to begin with? So I entered into MBA with that mindset since the beginning that I want to get into product. And since the
So you
beginning,
were clear that you will.
yeah, for me it was clear what I want to do. I was never, confused about my choices.
Yeah.
Since it was driven by passion since the beginning, so I
Yeah.
just carried it over. So since the beginning in my MBA journey itself, I took a part in lots of product initiatives. I also joined the product management club and did a lot of things in that domain. Created a group of PMs which can share resources amongst each other. So that's when Riya also started taking interest into product when she was exploring what options she would want to pursue. She did a finance internship and then realized that okay, finance is not something that she might want to pursue, and that's where she also started exploring product. So yeah, so for me, it was since the beginning itself. And then I also did an internship in the product domain. So I interned with Scapia as a product manager. And naturally, I also wanted, to go into finals with the product management offer. And that's what happened. So yeah, for me, it has been a natural journey.
So for the undergrad students, like how do they, let's say, get into building products, or what should they do in terms of, let's say, courses and all?
Yeah.
Anything else they can do about any other suggestions? Let's say reading
Yeah,
or
yeah.
building their own product. Let's say again, as you have discussed,
Right.
AI they can build products and so on, right?
Yeah.
So anything you would suggest?
I would say since they're just starting off,
Yeah.
so there are a lot of diverse like subjects that are there in the
Yeah.
curriculum itself.
Correct.
Now we choose among this breadth, we choose a certain domain to go into depth. Like
Yeah.
we chose product management at
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
Now, while going into depth there in that particular domain, it's more important how you differentiate yourself in the role.
Okay.
So, if to give an example, I was always interested in psychology and cognitive science. I
Okay.
took some electives in my undergraduate.
Okay.
Now, while I was preparing for product management, I noticed that the first thing that I think of in situations is the customer experience.
Okay.
Like whether launching this particular feature will anyhow lead to bad customer experience or not. And that is coming out of me thinking about psychology in the background of my mind. So there are different perspectives that each of us can bring onto the table for that particular role, and that is what will differentiate us. Now, a product company that might might be looking for a UI UX kind of product manager that might be like going through the design. For that company, I might be a very useful candidate since I'm looking for customer experience as a thing. Now, that was just one example. People can choose different domains to dig deep into. Like I am this type of product manager, and I like my expertise lies in this particular field. Like this is the different kind of perspective that I bring into the role. For example, in consulting as well, People can have specific domains that they're good with data, good with numbers, or they are good with strategizing things. So
Yeah.
there is a particular mode that you have to
Yeah,
build
so
around yourself
I'll
in that
add. So
particular.
basically, if you are naturally inclined or interested, let's say in mathematics or economics
Yeah.
or psychology or coding, you take that as a pivot to think
Yeah.
further, right? Your
right.
primary thinking starts from there.
Yeah.
Building product in terms of coding related or tech products,
Yeah.
or use your data orientation and so on. That's one
Exactly.
aspect. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can give a
yeah.
practical roadmap as well,
Yeah.
how the young students can actually go about it. So I would say start with a daily pain point that you might face in your day-to-day life, right? So there can be some pain point in terms of just the way I said that, okay, I had a context problem that I don't want to recall all the meetings, what was decided. So that's where I recognize that, okay, I need to come up with an automation in terms of the transcription. All. So there might be certain pain points that you feel on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
Identify that first and then go to any of the AI tools that exist. You don't have to be an expert of anything to begin with. Just simply go to any AI tool, let's say Lovable itself or Cloud Code or whatever. Then give it the idea, whatever you want to build, and it will come up with something, right? It will first come up with something very basic, very, very bad, basically, right? And then you need to look at it. What exactly is this solving for you? Is that really solving the pain point that you had, or is it not? If it is, then you might come up with certain more idea that, okay, this is something that is doing a specific job. Now what about if I expand it to something even more? And then you can talk to other people, your friends, your colleagues, and other people, and ask them their feedback. What exactly do they think about it? Do they also have the same problem, or would they want to use the product? So that's how you can keep expanding based on others' feedback, because the pain point that you might have might not be the a very rare pain point that no one else has in the world. So if you come up with other people also who might have the same pain points, you can keep building on that and keep showing it to them and ask them to use it as well. So that's when you can move from step by step, because once people start using it, let's say now you have to also take care of authentication, because naturally it will define your product strategy. Let's say now you want to onboard another user, not just you. So first thing that you will have to do is it shouldn't just work on your own laptop. It also should be hosted somewhere so that someone else can actually go to the link and open the product, right? That will be the first step. Now since they're able to log in, well, now let's say you have solved for it, you have hosted, you have come up with you searched about it in the internet, you got to know that, okay, you need to host it somewhere. You hosted it, assume, right? Now the next step will be that, okay, if someone else is using the product, how do we exactly know who is using it and whether they are even allowed to use it or not? So that's where you will come up with the strategy of authentication, that you need to authenticate the user. Let them sign up first, and then they can sign in with their own credentials, so that you know which is the user using your product. So that's where you will come up with how authentication works. So that will be the next step that you learned. Then you will come up with the thing that, okay, now it's not just you and the other person. Now 5 more people want to use the same product. So now when they all try to sign up, something broke. Let's say now your authentication is not working. They are coming up with certain error. Now you will see what the error is, and then you will give it to your AI as well. You will try to understand what broke, and then you will fix it. So now you are scaling your product. You are not just limited to you and the other person. You are scaling it to 5 or 10 or 100 users now. So when you actually start, working on the product, when you actually get hands-on, you will naturally lead towards the next step. So that is how I would say youngsters can start approaching this. It will naturally teach them the product management.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Good.
One more perspective I want to add to this.
Yeah.
That when you are trying to solve a problem, you should also do market research to find the existing solutions and how you can make them better, like add value on top of it.
Yeah.
Because many people, what I see is they build in isolation and they don't know what's already out there. The product that they might have built over months might have been at the search of a click. Already there.
If it's a solved problem or not.
So
today that's a challenge, that almost everything is available in India.
Exactly.
You don't have to reinvent.
Exactly.
Right?
But when you know what is out there, it's not necessary that you discard that idea altogether. You can build on top of it and create an enhanced version of it. So that doesn't end there, but knowing what is there will accelerate your own learning. So that is a point that I want to add.
Excellent. Yeah.
Interesting.
Good. Yeah. So good. So we got multiple perspectives in a completely different environment or different set of industries where how the product management is, it's evolving and working and so on. Also, your personal journeys also will inspire our students in terms of to take up product management and to think of product development for their career and their own entrepreneurship journey, right?
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you
And
very
reach
much.
out to us whenever you want. If you have any
Yeah.
queries, we are there on
Sure.
LinkedIn, on all the socials. So yeah.
Yeah, good. So thank you.